Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't heard already, the news is that Rocksteady's Suicide Squad game has been delayed. Now, I don't think this came as a surprise to me, and I'm certain that for most of you, this did not come as a surprise. You've seen the patterns, you've seen the announcements of delays for different video games, and I don't think anyone is shocked that a video game of this magnitude is getting another delay. In fact, I think what we need to be asking is, why the delay right now and why the length of the delay? You see, it's just February and already this game is receiving a delay into next year. So the likelihood is that we're going to have over 12 months before we see this game. Hopefully it doesn't get another delay in 2023, but at this point, nothing is past us. But something that I strongly believe that a lot of people should be asking is, do we have the conducive environment for a video game of this nature or other video games that have taken this bet to release? And the answer to me is not likely. And you may wonder, what am I talking about? And so let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of the metrics and some of the things that have affected production on a global scale to see if potentially this may have caused part of the decision making or affected part of the decision making process as to how they needed to go with this game in terms of the delay. Now, just a few hours ago, Sony or these news organizations started to say things about the number of PlayStation 5 units sold. Now, I don't know why this came to light, but after all of everything, I looked at the numbers on IGN here, and apparently the PlayStation 5 sales have passed 17 million units. And thereby, apparently, it's supposed to be some sort of a success, right? But here's the thing, a lot of people don't own these units yet, and they're still trying to get their hands on some of them. And then if you even go and look at, say, the Xbox Series consoles, they're looking at somewhere around 12 million units already sold. So the console, in quote, war is not necessarily as marginal as the last one. If you compare, say, maybe to PS4 and Xbox One, Microsoft basically got demolished in that particular console generation, with the Xbox Ones, according to this data, having sold about 41 million units. Now, I don't know if there were maybe more or less, but this is what I have from Google, so I'm not trying to fight with anybody as to the specifics. But compared to the estimates for the Sony PlayStation 4, we're looking at 116 million units. But this is not necessarily a conversation about the console wars or whatever. It's more of a conversation as to the number of units that had been sold compared to the number of units available when you look at the last gen to the current gen. And what I mean by that is you're looking at 17 million PS5 units compared to 116 million PS4 units. So if you're going to release a video game, your best bet is that you have a lot more or a high majority of consoles to basically increase your chances of selling more copies. Because as much as you and I are looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I can almost guarantee you that not all over the 17 point something million PlayStation 5 owners are looking forward to that game. Many of them couldn't care at all if a Suicide Squad game is out there, if you get what I mean. And not all of the other 12 million units of the series consoles are looking forward to that game at the moment. If anything, most of the people who may even be looking forward to the game cannot get their hands on the PS5. And I think this may have caused, in my opinion, one of the reasons as to why this game is delayed, because it is a game solely based on the new generation of video games. So, where do we stand? Gotham Knights seems to me, in my own opinion, when you look at these numbers, and Hogwarts Legacy, they seem to have the very best chance of getting their release this particular year because they don't have those constraints. If any reason Gotham Knights is getting a delay, I think we can almost, in a high percentage of a certainty say that Gotham Knights delays are more about production and development and maybe those challenges, because Gotham Knights has all possible, let's just say, 20% of all of the 160 million 16 million PlayStation consoles, have broken. You still are left with somewhere around 80, 90 million units. And then plus the 17 million units of the PlayStation 5s, plus the good old Xbox Ones, 41 million and 12 million, and PC. You have a wide variety of platforms that Gotham Knights can be played on. And so this should not necessarily be a problem for that game itself. So this is why many people may be saying, oh, I hope Gotham Knights comes out. Oh my gosh, yo, you don't need to freak out. If Gotham Knights is delayed, it's more than likely because of production issues, and you don't want the game to come out in a state where it may have bugs or whatever it is. Suicide Squad, on the other hand, it may be going through production issues. Who knows? But I'm saying that from my own looking at these numbers, I think that there is a higher chance that the console generation bet may not be going as they think. And let's keep in mind as well that it doesn't really matter who sells which console or whatever it is. It's just you need the ubiquitous nature of these consoles. And then when you even go back to look at, say, Rocksteady's last game, which was about 7 years ago, you look at Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was released about maybe a year and a half to 2 years into the PlayStation 4 generation and Xbox One generation. It wasn't released exactly at the cusp of things. And even at that time, that 1.5 to almost 2 years, sales of those consoles were much more fluid, and there was availability compared to today's sales, where people want to buy the consoles and there aren't even any to buy for a normal price. Instead, scalpers, all kinds of people have actually poisoned the market, and customers are not necessarily satisfied, in regard to all of these, these things going on. And we get it. There's a global shortage of, all kinds of manufacturing components. But at the same time, I think the bet did not necessarily pay off. But again, we are all eager to see new generation of games, but this is the cost of the new generation of games. If you even kind of think about it, because of these so-called global issues, if we go back and look at the numbers, you'll realize that it has really affected a lot of the potential sales, because all this so-called 17% is just somewhere around 12% of the sales of this new generation, of the past generation, sorry. So let's even say 50% of people were moving to the PlayStation 5, say even in 2 years from its release. Remember, it got released in November of 2020. Say even in the 2 years, 50% of PS4 players said, hey, we want to move to the PS5. The PS5 has still not even been able to reach 50% of the sales from there. Whereas if you think about the Xbox, even though it's still, facing some issues, it hasn't reached its 50%, but it's not too far off. Plus, Microsoft has already made it where these so-called 41 million units are actually a good deal if you still have yours and you have xCloud. So there are so many things to consider in this conversation. I really am amazed, because it seemed like we all knew this, but we were praying in a corner that it wouldn't happen. But now it's happened, and we're like, darn it, we knew this would probably happen. But again, I'm glad that we have these conversations, and I'm glad that we knew these different parameters, because it makes it really important for us to be able to have these conversations and be honest with ourselves that these games and these past few years of development has really shown everybody how volatile video game development is. The video game development companies have enjoyed a lot of production. They've enjoyed a lot of, fandom. But now that we have a global change and a global shift, perhaps the people who are able to just, in a sense, adapt are the ones that are going to enjoy what, is out here for them to be able to, do in terms of meeting their customer demands and, helping to, reach fans in the way that they usually do. They'll have to tweak things a bit. But this is pretty much the end of my video. Talk to me in the comment section. I know there's a lot that we had to go through, but I tried my best, even though I like keeping my videos short. But this is one of those videos that required a lot of, different parameters to point to, so that I don't have to talk too much about it in a whole different video. But thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. We'll talk in another one. Peace out.